Hello, hello, hello. I'm back again. I am here to talk about the full moon that is coming up in the axis of Leo and Aquarius. As the moon will be in Leo. This is a very active, very exciting full moon that's coming up. It will be on February 1st. And it will be at 2:09 Pacific. So yeah, we've had some I mean, just everything seems to be accelerating. I know I come back every week, every other week now, and I say, "Wow, it's been crazy out there." And I know it has been. And I've been looking at this time, knowing that it's going to be hard for the whole world with tribalism, essentially. People on one side and another side. And if you don't take a side, it's a bad thing. And that's really what tribalism comes down to when it's negative. Um, and we're seeing some very um, what is the word I'm looking for? Tragic. We're seeing some tragic events unfold. And this is the result of people not understanding the bigger picture of what's going on. And it's to be expected that people are having a hard time grasping the bigger picture of what's going on. Because there's a lot of stuff that's just right up in our face. And people spreading ideas that are, people want to be revolutionary. And this is one of the words about Aquarius. And the sun is in Aquarius, along with a bunch of other planets. And we're marching towards freedom of expression, and we have um, we have ideas about freedom and liberty that people want to fight for. um, I just have a feeling that individually, and this is what the full moon is going to be about, individually, I haven't really thought much about your own individual place within all of this tribalism. You may feel like you belong to one side or the other. Um, it doesn't really take into account who you are as an individual. And this full moon is really, really about tapping back into who we are as individual people. If you're really, if you're really gonna heed this call from this full moon, um, you are going to be possibly removing yourself, not removing, but just distancing yourself a little bit from this tribalism and diving into your own creative process. That's really where all of us as individuals can make the most difference is with our individual creative processes. And everybody has creativity inside of them because um, we have the will to create. And when we're paying a lot of attention to what's going on out there in the world and uh, in politics and stuff, we're losing touch with our own individual creative process and our own will, our own um even our own self-love. Because if you love yourself enough, you may not be willing to put yourself in danger for a political idea. No, I understand it gets a little bit complicated when we're dealing with this particular axis of Leo and Aquarius. And Aquarius is very, very strong right now because we have Pluto there. And I probably should share the chart so that we can see what I'm talking about. Mm. Full moon in Leo. And so, yes, uh, the sun and the moon at 13 degrees. And we have um, Venus is relatively close. It's pretty much in a conjunction because we use a wide orb for the sun and the moon. And so, but it's even closer to Vesta. And this is why this tribalism and the pulling from one side or the other into making a decision, choosing a side, it really is being fired up by Vesta. Vesta is about loyalty and um, like where what we honor. So this combination here with the sun and Vesta is really pulling at our heartstrings to be loyal to something. And the moon over here in Leo, in opposition to Vesta, also is really calling for us to investigate why are we being loyal? What is it in our heart? Because Leo really is about the heart. And so, what is in our hearts, essentially? And if you're the type of person that has a hard time with loving yourself, then it's not going to be easy to take that back from giving it away to an external source. But if you're working on loving yourself more, then your loyalty is probably going to come back into your own self, your own heart, and your own essence, your own journey, your own path. Because no political leader or anti-leader um, can really tap into your own heart and what your very, very, very specific individual journey is here. And that this full moon and this moon being in Leo is a good time to remember what is inside of your heart. What is your, what do you really get passionate about beyond the fire that's being lit by somebody else. If you are experiencing a lot of reaction um, to the outside world during this time, then you might get swept, swept away from your own personal journey. Um, yeah. So, and please excuse me. I'll take a moment to say that I am a little bit sick, so I do sound stuffed up. But there is so much to say about this full moon. It's just a very exciting time. Um, and I say exciting because there's just a lot happening. Uh, it's not all fun and games, unfortunately. But this message that I'm bringing, uh, I really wanted to bring the message for this full moon, for the, to remind people to tap into your heart, um, that heart space. It It might be a little bit cloudy, after years of uh, being exposed to lots of different propaganda. We're not going to say that one side or the other has the corner on the propaganda machine, because that's essentially what's driving this tribalism is propaganda, one side and the other, both of them trying to basically gather their team. You know, I know that there's been a lot of talk about what was happening the last time Neptune was in Aries, and Neptune just went into Aries. So, and for good, it won't be going back into Pisces. And so we're faced with this cycle, this pattern. The last time Neptune was in Aries, we were starting a civil war. I mean, that's when it officially broke. It's not like it happened overnight, right? Just as we're experiencing right now. We understand that the way people feel and are reacting to things, none of this happened overnight, and it's been slowly building up over many, many years. Excuse me. Um, and one of the reasons why I feel like it's important for me to bring this message of tuning into your heart is because now that Neptune is in Aries, we're all getting a new start. We're all getting a fresh start with spirituality and creativity. And it's an opportunity to really tap into your creative process. What is it that your mind and your body can bring into fruition? Because Neptune in Aries is wants to start something, but especially when Saturn gets there, it's gonna really want to start something. It's a new synodic cycle with them between Saturn and Neptune. And I definitely feel this creative urge starting to blossom. And um, there's lots of different ways that humans can create. It's not just in the realm of art. painting, music, we create lots of different things because we're human beings with these amazing minds. And what makes humans so amazing is that we're all different. We all have an individual purpose, plan, passion, set of talents. Um, we all have our own individual will. And it, with regards to the idea of freedom, freedom is an idea of balance between the individual and the tribe. Because the tribe is going to make a bunch of rules and regulations so that everybody is conforming into societal coherence. And um and that's the Aquarian thing. That's where we have the sun here. Gosh, it's the sun and Venus and Mercury and Vesta and Mars and Pluto. That's a lot going on in Aquarius. If you're an Aquarius sun person who was born during Aquarius, you're probably feeling all of it. It might be kind of driving you a little bit mad. And it's interesting because Aquarians are really smart and can take a lot of information and not be overwhelmed by it, usually. Usually. Um, but something is bursting at the seams right now for the Aquarian archetype. And um, the Leo moon is really giving us a clue as to why, how, how that's working for you. Individually in your own chart, where this full moon is being, like, is happening, this is your individual call for you to explore your own journey, your process of individuation that you are constantly going through your whole life. It doesn't end until the end of you. You know, it's really your lifetime goal is to find out who you are, not to find out who other people are. That's not really why any of us have incarnated here. And this full moon is a reminder of that. That it's not about necessarily being selfish. No, it's about, because see, this is the thing, is if you become a little bit more selfish, we'll just call it that, then you're not paying attention as much to the things out there that are trying to capture all of your attention. If you can just tap into creating a little bit of space for yourself to not be obsessed with what's going on out there in the outside world, because it's all going to happen whether you're paying attention to it or not. And it's something to consider that, yes, we've been given certain rights to like vote and stuff, and that's very Aquarian. That is um, the concept of liberty, and freedom. And how do we actually make that happen is through elections, and then we have democracy through these elections. But that's not the end all be all of who we are individually. And finding out who you are individually doesn't mean that you figure out which political party you belong to. Actually, it's really kind of the opposite. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm so stuffed up. But I really, really wanted to show up for this because it's a beautiful moment. I think that regardless of what you're seeing on the news, because Mercury is in Aquarius also. And so there's just going to be nonstop. It's just going to be nonstop about the outside world until Mercury makes it to Pisces. And one of the reasons why the information has been on such overload is because all these planets here in Aquarius and Mercury as well, it's really a lot of information overload. Now, when I said in the past that things were going to be coming out, and truths were going to be coming out, I knew that it would probably be overwhelming, actually. And we have an overwhelming amount of information now coming out, and every day there's something else, and it can be really addictive, but really bad for us, as regular human beings. So this full moon is a really good time to just figure out who you are as a regular human being. Maybe tap back into a hobby that you love that can take your attention away from the outside world. Um, Obviously, since this is a full moon, we're not going to be able to take our attention fully away from the outside world because that is the nature of a full moon. Is that it is complete awareness. Um, but I'm here saying that I understand it's overwhelming, and it's like system overload on your body, uh, on your heart, and so bringing yourself back into your body and just taking a moment to turn it all off, turn off the outside world, and ask yourself, what am I gonna do to have fun? What am I gonna do to enjoy myself for a moment? And that any little bit of that you can manage is going to help you. It's going to be a positive step towards, um, not being so overwhelmed, taking care of your body, loving yourself more. Literally, if you step away from what's going on in the outside world, you're literally loving yourself more. That's just what's going on right now. Um, let's see. The day after the full moon, I wanted to mention is Imbolc. And Imbolc is when those of us who celebrate, well, for everybody in the normie world, it's Groundhog's Day. The next day will be Groundhog's Day, and that's when they take the groundhog out and see whether or not it's going to be more winter or less winter. And for those of us who practice and celebrate in a more ancient way. It is Imbolc, and it means that it's halfway through the winter. And one of the older stories about Imbolc is, hmm, I love this story, is that grandmother Winter, she has gathered all of her supplies for winter at the beginning of winter. And if she decides that there's going to be a longer winter, it'll be a nice day on Imbolc so that she can gather some more supplies, more wood, and more of what she needs to survive through a longer winter. But if it's a nasty, bad weather day on Imbolc, then she's just going to get by with what she has. And winter will be over sooner than later. And you can see in that story where we get the groundhog from. It's just another way to um, just try to predict whether or not winter is going to be longer or shorter. And that's what Imbolc comes down to, celebrating the fact that winter is halfway over. And because in the northern hemisphere, in certain areas, winter can be very harsh. So any little bit of hope, and by the time Imbolc comes around, we're seeing more of the sun coming back, and equinox will be here soon. Spring will be here soon. And it's something to celebrate. It's something to look forward to. And, you light a candle to honor the light that's coming back. And it's really beautiful. And the next day after that, on the 3rd of February, Uranus finally goes direct. Wow. And Uranus will be making its way back into Gemini eventually. Um, but it's interesting that since we have seen Uranus go retrograde back into Taurus, the financial markets have been very unstable again. And we really, if you're looking at all at the financial world, there's a couple very interesting things that have been going on. Um, One of the most interesting things, and I think that this is really going to take off once Uranus gets into Gemini fully, is that there's some kind of race or competition between different AI entities in the stock market. And so far, every other AI other than Grok has lost money. And Grok basically is making money, and this is gonna change everything. Um, it's going to change the market forever. Once this particular challenge has um, given us the data that we need to understand, um, we're going to be going into a very different area with financial things. And so we're getting a little bit of peek of that while Uranus is still meandering in Taurus. But yeah, on Tuesday the 3rd, Uranus goes direct. And and then another thing that happens before the new moon is Saturn goes into Aries. And Saturn will be going into Aries on Friday the 13th. Wow. Isn't that crazy? So in February, not only is there a Friday the 13th, but Saturn will be making its ingress into Aries on that day. Sounds like um interesting astrology story of, you know, just a new kind of Friday the 13th. Um, I don't think it's a bad thing because I think that 13 is been has been demonized, obviously, right? But there's something to that. There is something to that. So, and then I will be back before the sun goes into Pisces for the new moon in Aquarius. Wow. So after this, we'll be having the new moon Aquarius. Yeah. So I didn't, I don't want to get too involved in talking about the other planets because I really just wanted to bring the message of coming back into your heart space. I can't say that enough. That's going to be the thing that saves you. Um, your physical body really can't take what they're putting out there for us. And I know that everybody feels a sense of importance and needing to be a part of some kind of solution, some kind of uprising or revolution. But all of this is really just about an idea. Freedom is an idea. Liberty is an idea. And so when you're thinking about your own freedom and liberty, your own, not everybody else's, because uh, freedom as a group is very elusive, very elusive. And maybe one day I can go more into that. But freedom as an individual, much more sustainable. The idea of individual freedom, individual liberty is it's a much more sustainable idea because you get to make whatever choice that you need to make moment by moment, not based on what the group or the tribe needs you to make. So it's something to consider what decisions that you need to make for yourself that will give you more of a sense of freedom and liberty and spark your passion back up for life. And think about your own self-expression during this full moon. So yeah, that is ultimately where I would say if you don't want to lose your mind with the overwhelm, what's going on out there, then come back into your heart space. Yep. Okay, I think that's good. You know, I think that's where I want to leave it. And good luck to everybody. We're all gonna need it. And we're going through some really intense times. And uh, just remembering that you have worth. It's not all about the party that you belong to. Um, and even family matters more. So remember that your family is even more important, but ultimately your own individual path and the reason why you incarnated here. Those are the main themes that are becoming going to be really coming up, and it's good to not resist going into your heart space. Try to find time for that. All right. Well, I hope that everybody has a nice full moon, and I hope that there is something to enjoy out there, something that brings, passion back in for yourself. Okay. Well, I'll see you next time. Bye.